welcome to the 39th Annual State of the City Address. My name is Tanner Noble. I am the president of the Lubbock Apartment Association. The Lubbock Apartment Association represents and supports owners, managers, and suppliers in the rental housing industry. We have 500 members who manage over 30,000 apartment units, single-family homes, townhomes, and duplexes in Lubbock and the surrounding 13 counties. We started the State of the City Address as a small membership luncheon, and over the years it has grown to this, a citywide event that benefits a charity of the Mayor's choice. I'd like to start by recognizing a few groups of people who have been instrumental in the success of the Apartment Association and this event. If you're a current or past LAA Board of Directors member, will you please stand up? Thank you. I would also like to recognize our elected officials, their representatives, and special guests in the room. I think we have a full city council. We got a couple of state reps here, some judges, and we want to say thank you for being here today too. Our final group that I'd like to recognize today are our sponsors. You've seen all their names scrolling on the screens, and there's a specific group I'd like to thank: the entertainment, hospitality, luncheon, and presenting sponsors, the Lubbock Association of Realtors, Carpet Tech, Atmos, and Title I. I'd like to give a special thank you to you, and most of all, I'd like to thank all of our sponsors for underwriting this important event. As I mentioned earlier, the State of the City Address benefits a charity of the Mayor's choice. For years, this event has been able to make donations in the Mayor's name to organizations like South Plains Wildlife Rehabilitation Center, Family Promise, Scottish Rite Learning Center, the South Plains Honor Flights, the benevolent funds of the Lubbock Fire and Police Departments, and Literacy Lubbock. In the 38 years of this event, these donations, thanks to you and the LAA Board of Directors, have totaled well over $275,000. I won't steal the Mayor's thunder right now, and I'll let him announce who he's selected to be the beneficiary this year. So now that all the thank yous are complete, I will ask you to stand with me as the Lubbock Police and Fire Department Honor Guard present the colors, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance, National Anthem, and prayer.
Will you pray with me? Almighty God, we gather this day to celebrate and recognize all that has been accomplished in this great city of Lubbock. In doing so, we also intend to pause for a moment to acknowledge all that we have and all that we are as a gift from you. The resources you've given to us to steward and the opportunities to exercise leadership and vision have been bathed in prayer, contemplated by some of the brightest people in our community, and executed to the best of our ability. It's obvious that the great strides our community has made amid difficult times have been possible due to amazing leaders amongst us. Today especially, I want to lift up Mayor Pope and the past 6 years of leadership and care he's demonstrated for the good people of Lubbock and beyond. His efforts and your work through him do not go unnoticed. Of course, we never accomplish anything on our own. As such, we're grateful for council members and supporting staff of the city that work diligently for the benefit of the community, sometimes under unimaginable expectations. Of course, those servants reflect the vast wealth of leadership amongst us here in this place and in this community we call home. As we gather around our tables today and share our stories, May our outlook reflect the hope that we find in you, Lord, a hope that continues to clarify and broaden your vision of a beloved community in which all people are treated with dignity and seen through your divine eyes. May we not shrink from the past or even our missteps, but rather we pray that you use every one of those experiences to shape and mold us into the people you created us to be. Gracious and loving God, bless this time together. Bless the food we eat, the fellowship we share, and our hopes and dreams for the future. Grant that our true measure of success will be rooted in love, first of all of you, and as well as love of our neighbors. And in doing so, we seek to offer to you all of our efforts for your honor, glory, and praise. We lift these in all our prayers in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the pledge to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
You may be seated. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Massengale and Dr. Craig Curry for leading us in the pledge and the prayer. And thank you, Rolling Thunder Trombone Quartet. And now, will you please join me in welcoming to the stage your mayor, Dan Pope.
Thank you, Tanner. Thank you for joining me for the 2022 State of the City Address. Against all odds, 2021 exceeded our expectations and was a big success. I look forward to sharing with you why Lubbock is still the best place to live, work, and play. Neighborhoods are the foundation of life in Lubbock. Our parks, schools, local small businesses, and the people are what make our community strong. New home construction in Lubbock reached an all-time high over the past year. Our cost of living contributes to affordable housing, which fuels our growth. There are many signs that point to the renewed vigor of downtown Lubbock. Restaurants, breweries, wineries, and new green space are transforming our cityscape, and progress on projects like the Metro Tower Lofts, South Plains College, and local businesses undertaking renovations further energize this area. In 2021, we opened 3 police patrol division stations, one for the eastern, southern, and northern portions of our city. Lubbock's Public Safety Improvement Plan focuses on providing better law enforcement through community policing. Joining ERCOT means that electric power in Lubbock will remain affordable and reliable as we join the most competitive power market in the United States. Our renovation at Lubbock Preston Smith International Airport was largely complete last fall. This $45 million investment refreshes an important front door to our city and improves the flying experience for all travelers. The Lubbock Health Department and our community development will both be located in a building on 50th Street. The council has funded the purchase and renovations of this facility. Over the past 24 months, we've been reminded daily of the important role both play in our city's health and wellness. These improvements will help city staff work more efficiently for Lubbock citizens, providing the essential services we both expect and enjoy. Today, there are more available jobs in Lubbock and more people working than before the pandemic began. However, there's still many jobs unfilled. These positions are an important part of our economy, and like the rest of the U.S., there are plenty of help wanted signs hanging in windows. Our economic development efforts this year were significant. Our team has been aggressive about bringing new opportunities to Lubbock and helping local businesses grow and thrive. Lubbock continues to develop a highly skilled and well-educated workforce to meet the needs of our diverse economy. When you consider quality of life, we enjoy an abundance of riches. Buddy Holly Hall opened and hosted a number of concerts and performances with renowned artists. Lubbock continues to maintain over 3,400 acres of parkland and open space. Special events like the Mayor's Marathon and the Lubbock Ironman 70.3 brought visitors and athletes from across the globe to our city. The energy provided by the students and the activities associated with Texas Tech University, Lubbock Christian, and South Plains College provides a special college town vibe. Saturdays at Jones Stadium, basketball at United Supermarkets Arena, baseball at Rip Griffin Park, Danlaw Field, and the excitement of so many collegiate sporting events is an exciting part of life here in the Hub City. First Friday Art Trail, Ballet Lubbock, the Lubbock Symphony Orchestra, Buddy Holly Center, the Ranching Heritage Center, and the Lubbock Arts Festival are just some of the events and entities that enrich our already vibrant cultural heritage. Whether you're starting a new business, buying your first home, or catching a show at the Cactus Theater, Lubbock is a great place to live, work, and play. Once again, 2021 proved that Lubbock is strong, resilient, and on a path to continued growth and prosperity. Our very best days are ahead of us. It's a great day in Lubbock, Texas. Good afternoon and welcome to the 40th annual, I think Tanner said 39th, leave it to a politician to round it up. But regardless, the Lubbock Apartment Association State of the City event, my heartfelt appreciation to the Apartment Association and their sponsors for hosting this year's event. You know that apartments and rental housing is a very important part of Lubbock's economy and our quality of life. And the Lubbock Apartment Association ensures that professionalism, ethics, and quality customer service within this local industry exist. I want to pause for a second. I'm going to go off script real early. I really enjoyed the trombone quartet, and I'm a sucker for the honor guard and the work they did. So help me thank those guys once again for what they did today. I want to recognize my special guests that are here with me today, and if you'll hold your applause, we'll catch them all at the very end. First of all, members of the Lubbock City Council. We moved them up from the back row to the front row this year. So, and Sheila, I heard you heard that music when I was coming up here. You thought I was going to sing, didn't you? It scared the heck out of you. Yeah, but I'm not going to sing. But thank y'all for being here. Our state legislative delegation is all with us here today. Senator Perry, Representatives Frulo and Burrows are here. Lindley Herring is representing Congressman Arrington, who, best we know, is working in Washington today. We're joined today by Lubbock County Judge Curtis Parrish, our school superintendents from Lubbock ISD, Dr. Kathy Rollo, from Friendship ISD, Dr. Michelle McCord, and from Lubbock Cooper ISD, Mr. Keith Bryant. Our higher education leaders, Dr. Rice Spearman, Dr. Skruvenick, Dr. McDowell, and Dr. Satterwhite. Finally, both Police Chief Floyd Mitchell and Fire Chief Sean Fogerson are here. We didn't let them sit together. They bantered across the table at the entire lunch. And then my pastor, Todd Salzwedel, the senior minister at First United Methodist, who did such a good job in opening us with prayer. Finally, and most important, my wife Denise is not here today. She had something come up at the unavoidable that precluded her from being here. But I want to thank her in front of all of you for her patience, first and foremost, with me, but her love, support, and encouragement. Please join me in recognizing this entire group. As Tanner mentioned, each year the Lubbock Apartment Association generously donates a portion of the proceeds from the State of the City event to a charity of the mayor's choice. This year, Denise and I have chosen Casa of the South Plains as our sponsored charity. Casa of the South Plains recruits, educates, and supports volunteer advocates for children and families that are in the foster care system. Now, Casa is always recruiting volunteers to help children. If you want to make a difference in your life and to impact kids, consider being a Casa volunteer. Thank you guys for making a difference in our community. Yeah. I'm thankful to partner with the Apartment Association this year to both highlight Casa and to be able to provide funding for them. This Casa means a lot to Denise and me. I've had the pleasure of working the last 6 years with a remarkable city council. 6 of us, Juan, Sheila, Jeff, Steve, Luttrell, and I have served together for that entire time. That's never happened before in Lubbock. Randy joined us 2 years later. And I think this council works because they're selfless. Now, they certainly advocate for their districts, but never at the expense of the success of Lubbock as a whole. We disagree, sometimes loudly, but we always find a way to pull together. Our priorities have remained consistent, and we strive to provide common sense leadership, putting first things first. Please join me in thanking our Lubbock City Council. Today marks my 6th and final State of the City address. I plan to share our achievements and talk about our challenges. We'll look at numbers that are driving our growth. I will offer my best predictions about what's in our future. But before we begin, let me be clear about one thing. The state of our city is strong. We are resilient, and we are focused on a bright future. Let's dig in. By the way, some of you like a lot of numbers. So when we post this tomorrow or early next week, we'll post the video, we'll post this PowerPoint, but we'll also post an appendix with all the data you'd ever want to look at if you want to dig into this, okay? Send me a report. Keep it to one page if you would, if you have a summary of that. In 2021, we had a record year in permits issued for single-family homes and duplexes. Commercial property permits are up from 2020 and are near pre-pandemic levels. I'm stealing a little bit from my friends at Lubbock Land Company when I pull some stats out, but let me share a few things with you. Last year's permits equaled a 28% growth over the previous year, which also was a record. Our housing market is growing significantly faster than the state and the national market. Lubbock had more single-family homes permitted last year than El Paso did. We had twice as many single-family homes permitted as Amarillo and Abilene added together. As you can see from these numbers, our new residential investments keep on growing. They're the highest they've ever been. Our total construction is up over $162 million from last year. Maybe a few more housing stats. The northwest part of our community led the way last year with 840 permits. I probably would have made some money if I'd have asked that question and bet you guys on that. 200 more than any other area in town. Friendship ISD last year had the most permits pulled, more as compared to Lubbock and Lubbock Cooper. Lubbock ISD had the second highest number of permits pulled in a decade. This one I can't get over. At the end of December last year, there was less than 1 month, 27 days of inventory, that's housing stock on the market. In spite of the single-family growth, apartment occupancy remains above 91%. Let's talk for a minute about employment and economic development. You heard it in the video, but there were more jobs and more people working at the end of last year than 22 months before that when the pandemic began. Our unemployment rate in December had dipped to 3.3%. Lubbock is back to work. This year we experienced an incredible amount of job growth. In fact, we had a net new jobs of over 800 last year and new capital investment in excess of 133 million. From 2016 to 2022, there were 615 new businesses established in Lubbock. Last year, Leprino Foods, the worldwide leader in mozzarella cheese production, announced they will be building their newest plant in Lubbock, creating jobs for 600 citizens and making the single largest private investment in the history of Lubbock, $850 million. We announced a new Amazon warehouse and last mile operation that added about 230 jobs, but maybe most importantly, our local businesses, those that were here before last year, will be here next year, continue to grow. VXI Global Solutions added 350 jobs. Simflow added 12 new jobs and continues to make a lot of investments in their facilities. Vexus Fiber is adding 70 new jobs, and the list goes on and on and on. There have been 111 Market Lubbock grants in the downtown business TIF area since 2016. And those average about $25,000 per project. For every dollar that Market Lubbock and the city invest in that area, the private sector is investing more than $20. This program is catalytic to downtown, and I want to thank our Market Lubbock board John Osborne and his staff for all their work. Let's talk about finances for a minute. Our sales tax collections have increased 32% since 2016. Now that's you're sort of into the winds of the pandemic. It's pretty impressive. One of the good things about sales tax revenue increasing is it takes pressure off of property tax. We'll talk about property tax next. This year, the City Council passed a budget that lowered the tax rate once again. You can see the rates from the last 7 years. In 16, 17, and 18, the rate remained the same. Then in 19, the council committed to a $60 million public safety improvement project. Taxes were increased a penny in 19 and 20 to fund this very important effort. And in the last 2 years, we've been able to lower that tax rate more than 6%, or 3.5 cents. In fact, the 2022 rate is 1.5 cents lower than the rate was when we were elected in 2016. Even after funding public safety improvements, Citizens Tower, and paying cash for projects that were previously financed, we've still been able to lower that tax rate. Yeah, thank you. That's good. Since 2016, we've paid down nearly $300 million in our debt on a net number. This graphic shows the impact we made on fee-supported debt and total debt last year. Now, LP&L is not included in this because the most recent investments we made there, nearly $400 million to connect to ERCOT, will be paid back to us in transmission fees, actually not paid by Lubbock ratepayers. I wanted to show you a few slides that compare us to our peers. So on this slide, you see the 8th through the 12th largest cities in Texas. According to the 2020 census, we're the 11th largest city. So how do we compare? When you see tax rates for these cities, you'll see that we're on the lower end of the scale. In fact, we're between Plano and Irving, and I would argue that they get some advantages due to some of the regional services that are provided in the Metroplex. That makes our rate look even lower as we're geographically, we geographically stand on our own. Let's talk about our tax-backed debt. This slide uses comptroller data and shows our general obligation debt. That is debt that's supported by property taxes, and it compares us to our peers. Remember that all of our other debt is paid by revenue generated from utilities, or in the case of the airport, the fees we pay for our tickets and the like. One more slide to compare us to our peers. Lubbock's per capita debt of $1,388 compares very well to our peer group. Okay, let's shift over and talk about city business for a bit. I'd like to update some things that are going on in our departments. First of all, I want to salute City Manager Atkinson, City Secretary Garza, and City Attorney Weaver, and the entire City of Lubbock team. I can't emphasize how important our city employees are. Let's think of some examples. Our first responders who live on the front lines and found themselves with even more challenges during the pandemic. Our LP&L linemen and public works employees who a year ago today were keeping us safe and warm as Winter Storm Uri devastated the rest of the state. Think about those folks that sprayed, our vector control folks last summer when we had a lot of rain that sprayed for mosquitoes. Don't forget the airport employees that kept us flying in the midst of a huge remodel. Our librarians who carefully create programs for our kids and our students. And our animal control staff who manage and care for pets and stray critters in our community. This barely touches the surface of what Lubbock employees do for us. They get it done every day, and I'm proud to be on the team with them. Please help me recognize all of our City of Lubbock employees. In 2021, we fully adopted the community policing model by opening three patrol division stations, and we broke ground on the police headquarters building downtown. Now, these new patrol stations bring police officers closer to our neighborhoods, citizens, and businesses that they serve. The City Council also approved, and we're in the final stages of planning for Fire Station 20. It's important that all corners of our growing city are accessible by police and fire. This year, the council, in our budget, bought 52 new police vehicles and 3 new fire trucks to ensure that our first responders are prepared to do their job well. Now, just a little update. You'll remember that fatal accident in January of 2020 that injured firefighter Matt Dawson while they were responding to a car wreck on the north side of town during a snowstorm. Last year in August, the Dawson family received a wheelchair-accessible, mortgage-free home from the West Texas Hero Homes, United Supermarkets, the West Texas Home Builders, and all their partners. We continue to support and pray for Matt's recovery. You know, public safety remains job one for the Lubbock City Council. I'm grateful for the men and women who wear the uniform every day. Thank you. Many of you have seen the progress that we've made in our City of Lubbock campus downtown. Citizens Tower has been open for nearly 2 years. Our parking garage is mostly complete. Municipal Court is expected to open this summer. LPD headquarters should open early next year or sometime mid next year. I think it's also maybe most important to remind you that these projects are fully funded in the tax rate that we pay today. I'd be remiss if I didn't spend a minute talking about the City of Lubbock Health Department and all of their work for our community, particularly in the last 2 years. The council last year voted to purchase a 29,000 square foot building on 50th Street at 50th, it's at 2015 50th, to be the new home for the health department and for community development. Beyond their work helping our community with COVID-19, the health department is a one-stop shop for childhood vaccines, immunizations, and health screenings. You know, the COVID-19 pandemic impacted our families, businesses, schools, and daily lives, and we all empathize and hurt for lost loved ones. And while I don't plan on dwelling on COVID today, I want to take a moment to recognize our first responders, our healthcare workers, and our health department for leading the way the last 2 years against the pandemic. I'll never forget the teamwork in this very building that made our vaccination clinic work. Firefighters, nursing and med students, community doctors and nurses, Texas Tech athletes, retirees, volunteers, churches, health department employees. I mean, you name it, they were there. It was unbelievable. I'm so thankful for the folks that protected us during that pandemic. Great things are going on at Preston Smith Lubbock International Airport. I don't know if you've not been out there, you need to make a trip. In 2021, 57% more people flew than the year before. We're still about 23% behind the boardings from 2019, but we're gaining on that. The improvements to the terminal functionality, interior aesthetics, and the exterior maintenance make airports operations more efficient, and most importantly, improve the flying experience for all travelers. We're going to do a ribbon cutting out there next week. That project is complete, and we're awfully excited about that. 2 new monolithic water towers have gone up on 50th at Indiana and South Milwaukee. Now, they're the first of the first of 5 that we're going to build. These water towers are designed for a growing city. They're taller, larger, and more reliable, and they'll pay for themselves in between 7 and 8 years because it costs less for us to operate them. One of our highest priorities is to plan and invest in our water system. Last year, we brought on the Northwest Water Reclamation Plant. We continue to plan for the future of Lake 7, and we work our plan, our 100-year water plan. We implement that. We're working on implementing that every day. Of course, one of our most visible water wins is Lake Allen Henry. It's full of water, and it stays mostly that way. It's our most renewable resource, and it saves us from having to use those non-renewable water resources except in times of high demand or need. Our water future is strong and secure, and that's due to the investments that you guys have made. For 2 generations, our citizens have invested. It's very good news. We must continue to invest wisely. In November of last year, we broke ground along with TxDOT and the county for work on Loop 88. Now, Lubbock's outer loop, when finished, will be 35 miles long. You know, they tell you this stuff is going to happen, and it did. My teleprompter, this one hasn't been working, and this one just quit working. So, Phase 1 of Loop 88 is 7.5 miles in the south part of our community. In fact, it'll be done in 4 segments between, when it's finished, it'll go from Tohoka Highway to about Quinton Avenue, which is halfway between Milwaukee and Upland. Lubbock's the only city in West Texas that has a complete access-controlled loop. And now we're starting on our second. As you know, Loop 289 for years was a key driver to growth in our economy. This year, the Lubbock City Council also prioritized paying cash for street maintenance. Again this year, I should say, $11 million. The council has also addressed dirt streets in our community by matching city dollars and federal dollars to pave these roads. And in 2021, we made a $9 million investment in that same program to accelerate the effort to pave dirt streets in residential areas of our community. Let's talk a little bit about electricity. We had a very successful Phase 1 transition last May from to ERCOT, to the ERCOT grid. It really was much ballyhooed, but it went so smoothly, most of us didn't even know it happened. I'm thankful for our team. They did a great job. We plan to finish that. We have 30% more of that load that needs to move, and that should happen middle of next year. The LP&L board and the Lubbock City Council are considering actions that will provide a customer retail choice to our citizens, likely by the end of 2023. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. You know, all year round, you can find Lubbockites enjoying our 3,472 acres of parks. This year, we received grant funding to spruce up the bike trails around Lake 6. That's the historic Dunbar Lake. In June, we hosted roughly 1,000 athletes. We will again this June for the Lubbock Ironman 70.3 triathlon. Those athletes start that race by swimming 1.2 miles in Lake 6. Last May, we opened the Lubbock Tornado Memorial, which honors and memorializes the lives lost and the families affected by the 1970 tornado. We also received a $2 million private donation for McAllister Park improvements. Now, that gift has allowed us to build a dog park there, our third, and we're also currently reworking the master plan for McAllister Park. You should expect 4 of our parks will get new playground equipment this year. And just to give you a sense of what that job is like, our Parks and Rec team manages 50 softball and baseball fields, 45 neighborhood parks, 39 walking trails, 33 campsites at Lake Allen Henry, 4 pools, 2 bike trails, 2 regional parks, the Burl Huffman a soccer complex, 1 equestrian trail, and I've left some out. And by the way, in the summer, all the mowing you can imagine. I'm proud of our guys at Parks and Rec. Thank you. You know, our entertainment and recreation opportunities keep growing. Shopping small, attending local events like the Downtown Farmers Market, 4th on Broadway, the First Friday Art Trail, Ballet Lubbock, a Broadway production at Buddy Holly Hall, or participating in the Mayor's Marathon or the Lubbock Triathlon help connect members of our community. Now, quality of life opportunities don't just make Lubbock a fun place to be, but provide an important service to us and our visitors. Visit Lubbock reports 120 conventions took place last year, certainly lower than what we normally have, but those conventions added $32.5 million to our economy. Lubbock Sports hosted 273 youth, college, and professional events last year. Those events generated more than $59 million for our economy. Travel and tourism are a big part of Lubbock. As I mentioned before, 6 members of this council have served together since 16, and Councilman Christian joined us at 18. You know, our priorities have remained consistent since we began, and they are, just as a reminder, fiscal discipline, communications, community improvement, public safety, public health, growth and development, and economic development. I think one of our biggest accomplishments is getting our financial house in order. Paying cash when appropriate, financing when necessary, and lowering the tax rate while taking care of what we own and preparing for the future. All the time being good stewards of citizen tax dollars. I want you to hear now from some members of the council and get their perspectives on our work.
I think Lubbock is positioned in a lot of ways to be a really, really vibrant city.
I think our police administration has done an excellent job in their recruiting.
We've also invested in our people in public safety. We've given our police an unprecedented raise to make sure that they're valued and paid what they're worth so that they're able to do their job.
I'm excited about the fact that we have really been trying to make dents into our dirt road situation here in the city. And you would not believe that in 2022, that citizens are living on dirt roads.
Those roads should have been done in the 60s. We finally were able to get this done. I'm very proud of that.
Our Source Solution Addiction and Recovery Symposium, people that are looking for recovery help, they need to feel like they can go to a safe place.
We could not have done what we did in the COVID years without the Lubbock Health Department.
We've reduced our debt by about $600 million over the past 6 years, and we've even been able to deliver budgets with tax reductions.
Redevelopment of our downtown is also a shining star, as we have seen hundreds of millions of dollars put into our downtown redevelopment. It is great news to see population coming back to downtown Lubbock.
Developed the position of a neighborhood planner so that we can begin to do some things with the citizens in some specific neighborhoods to change things, to see what they wanted to do, see what their neighborhoods needed, and allow them to be a part of it and making those things happen.
I think the thing that I'm continually proud of for 2021 is the progress we're making on McAllister Park.
Whoa! Leprino Foods, man, who wouldn't welcome something like that into their community?
Rarely does a group come together like we have on this council from varied backgrounds, where 7 people can come together and at the end of the day get on the same page to move the community forward.
I think once we've got it all out, had our discussion, we're pushing, our shoving, and whatever we're doing, that we leave and say, hey, if this is the decision, we'll back it. And I think you have to do that. I think you have to agree to disagree when you do, but that once the decision is made, stand firm on it and move forward to make things better.
Everybody on this council has been willing to listen.
We've got a panel of 7 people from different parts of the city, different walks of life, bring different skill sets to the table, different priorities to the table. That's a good thing.
I think the best part about serving with the city council, and it's such a cliched term, but it's the people. We're kind of interesting group. We get along. We don't always agree with each other on everything, but I think we have mutual respect for each other, and they're just great people.
In late 20, yeah. Late in 2018, the council adopted Plan Lubbock 2040, which was the first comprehensive planning effort in many years in our community. Now, the plan identifies a framework of goals and actions to implement in order to support the vision that's expressed in that plan. This document will not sit on the shelf. And thanks to the Comprehensive Planning Oversight Committee, who sort of kicks us along a bit, staff, a lot of citizens, we're making progress. And I want to just spend a minute and talk about some of the things that we're working on in that regard. 2 of the priority recommendations were to draft a new Unified Development Code and to establish an impact fee program. The Unified Development Code, or UDC for short, is a document that combines and updates all development-related regulations and standards into a single, cohesive, and comprehensive document. Now, this endeavor is necessary to provide the public, stakeholders, and city staff with a document that's up to date with state law and achieves the goals and objectives of Plan Lubbock 2040. It's to be easily understood, and it should result in consistent interpretation and enforcement. Impact fees were adopted by the council in October of 20, following nearly 18 months of work and input from citizens serving on the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee. Impact fees are one-time fees assessed against new development, both residential and non-residential, in order to pay for that development's fair share of infrastructure cost, off-site infrastructure costs, ones that are needed to support that development. Now, the collection of these impact fees provides a revenue stream for the city to then match those dollars and complete those improvements, such as arterial roadways, building water, sewer lines, or making improvements to the water system or treatment plants to support this new development. We talked about parks earlier, but Plan Lubbock 2040 called for an updated parks master plan, and that's currently in progress. Our city staff, working with consultants, has received 5,500 survey responses and have hosted numerous community meetings and open houses, trying to get input from citizens, wanting to understand what they want to see in our parks. We expect this plan to be completed by summer. A call to downtown revitalization is also in Plan Lubbock 2040, and I remain very committed to downtown. Lubbock's changing demographics and future workforce want a viable, vibrant downtown. I feel like we've turned the corner downtown to have a bustling, environment with concert halls, iconic landmarks, and the opportunity to experience new things with friends and family and neighbors. Part of a thriving and growing city includes accessible and reliable public transit. To make City Bus a better service for our citizens, staff has been working on restructuring fixed routes to reduce travel times and to provide greater access to our community. Last year, we leveraged technology to enhance that passenger experience by going live with our City Bus On Demand app, which functions similar to a ride share app. The City Bus operational analysis also called for a diversification of our fleet to include smaller vehicles for the first and last mile connections. Sheila mentioned a minute ago about our neighborhood planner. You know, when we talk about live, work, and play, neighborhoods are a top priority. They're one of those foundational building blocks of a successful community. Our City of Lubbock planner joined us last year. He meets regularly with 11 different neighborhood associations, numerous community groups, and individual community members. We've already set aside funding to begin, and soon we will announce the next steps in plans created on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis. There are many projects that Plan 2040 calls out. I'm thankful to members of the CPOC, citizens that have been involved, our staff and council for all their hard work, making sure that this comprehensive plan is a living, working document that will serve us for decades. Now, there are other things that the council worked on last year, and I think it's important that we touch a few of these. Redistricting took place last fall following the 2020 census. Those census results trigger that obligation every 10 years to do redistricting. There were slight adjustments to our council districts, and those boundaries and maps are now available on our website. Here's some things we want our citizens to know. Our city grew. In fact, all 6 districts grew, not equally. But as a whole, we grew. The largest growth rates were in South and Southwest Lubbock. And we spent many hours working with experts who helped us analyze the data to make sure we could create equitable districts and abide by federal case law. Last year, the City of Lubbock was awarded $56 million from the American Rescue Plan Federal Act. Most of these funds are required to be spent on capital projects. We've already invested about a quarter of that, $14 million, in this year's budget. That funded those public safety vehicles I talked about earlier. We'll also use a considerable amount of that for the health department project. We plan to dedicate more of the other of these funds to small business and nonprofit grants, infrastructure to support affordable housing, a mental health diversion center, cybersecurity, and future public safety needs. We're also considering a number of other things, including job training and the arts. Now, we will continue to discuss these publicly at every city council meeting, so pay attention. As identified by the council, homelessness is an area that the ARPA funds could impact. And the city is in the process of gaining continuum of care status as it pertains to homeless dollars. This will provide for more federal and state dollars for homeless funding, for homeless funding. In this case, the city would serve as the clearinghouse for that funding. Now, we've seen other cities in Texas using continuum of care to achieve some success in reducing homelessness. We visited Fort Worth, San Antonio, and Amarillo to understand their programs. And we hope to be good partners. We don't plan on owning this. We hope to be good partners with our social service agencies together, addressing this significant problem. The West Texas Mental Health Collaborative, which includes the city and the county, the Texas Tech System, Covenant, UMC, and StarCare, have committed to looking at different models to assist those facing mental health challenges in Lubbock. Right now, a diversion center is one of our prospective solutions to the rising number of mental health cases that are bounced back and forth between the county jail and our hospitals. Neither of these is an appropriate venue for most people in these situations. A diversion center will provide the assistance needed. Typically, mental health is a factor in the homelessness epidemic. And our approach to both continuum of care and a diversion center will begin to address the needs of our homeless population. Last summer, we appointed a citizens committee to analyze the city charter and to bring recommendations to the council. And they did a great job managing an aggressive schedule. They held 2 well-attended public hearings. They received abundant feedback. The council chose not to advance those recommendations to the voters in November. However, good work has been done. Future councils should be able to take that work up and move quickly from that point. Personally, I believe at a minimum, our charter needs to be updated and modernized. In 21, the City Council prepared a street bond package to go before citizens last November. Now, this $174 million bond package included streets that were studied and selected by the Council Future Needs Subcommittee and Roads Subcommittee. Ultimately, voters did not approve that proposed package. We certainly will have another opportunity to consider a street bond, hopefully in the near future, because those needs have not gone away, and our growth will compel even more investments. Our important work continues for the Ports to Plains corridor. An I-27 advisory committee has been constituted by the Senate Bill 1474, approved by the legislature, carried by Senator Perry, I might mention, and also signed by Governor Abbott. This effort is championed by mayors, judges, and business leaders along the I-27 corridor. This is a huge deal for West Texas. In fact, a 2020 study of measuring the impact of building I-27 showed a $55.6 billion economic impact in the first 20 years after development. Lubbock certainly would be a large beneficiary. The next step in our effort is to receive a federal designation, and I'm thankful for the leadership of Congressman Arrington, joined by a bipartisan group of legislators along the corridor as they help us achieve that. Okay, we're getting close to the end. I've mentioned many times that one of the best parts of being mayor is hearing from constituents. Last month, I got a stack of letters from the second graders at Hardwick Elementary. One thing I can guarantee you, second graders always want to know your favorite color, your favorite food, if you have a pet, and how old you are. However, beyond these topics, the students also asked thoughtful questions about my time as mayor. A couple of my favorites were from Gripson. Gripson asked, "How is your life being the mayor? What did you promise to do when you became the mayor?" This got me to thinking about Lubbock's future and the challenges we face and where we excel. Since I announced my candidacy in November of 15, I've talked about the importance of job creation. Lubbock does not just need jobs. We need good jobs. Jobs with benefits and competitive salaries that keep students and bright minds in Lubbock. This effort goes hand in hand with innovation, education, and entrepreneurship. College towns like Lubbock are advantaged. By partnering with research universities like Texas Tech, we can create an ecosystem which incubates and develops ideas and technologies. Now, much of this innovation is concentrated in ag and energy and medicine. That makes sense. We have centers of excellence in those areas already. So you ask, can this work here? Consider for a minute the advances that have been made with cottonseed in the last generation. The private sector partnering with research scientists, have revolutionized the resiliency and yield of cotton, accelerating the primary engine of our ag economy and creating many highly sought after jobs. Our high schools, South Plains College, and Lubbock Christian University remain important partners in this effort also. Now, there are other challenges that we face. In a vote taken earlier this week, the Lubbock Power and Light Board voted to move our electric system into the retail competitive market. The City Council will consider that same item next Tuesday. I expect we will vote to further leverage our move to ERCOT by opting into the country's most competitive electric market. That would likely happen no sooner than late 2023. At some point, though, after we opt into that retail choice, our policymakers need to decide the future of Lubbock Power and Light. Now, Lubbock Power and Light is a valuable asset, but would we be better served to consider selling Lubbock Power and Light and its transmission and distribution system to an integrated power provider? The proceeds of this sale would be accretive. In fact, they could be transformational for our balance sheet and for city finances. I would suggest that the proceeds from this be designated to debt reduction or infrastructure investments exclusively. Certainly, voter approval would be required, but it is a complex decision, but it merits serious consideration. Another significant challenge is how to grow and maintain our infrastructure to keep up with our steady growth rate and to take care of what we already have. Now, steady growth should not be taken for granted. There's not another large city in West Texas that wouldn't want to be where Lubbock is today. I think you could call that a high-class problem. Last November's bond election did not pass, as I mentioned earlier. Those needs still exist, and thoroughfares all over the city need updates and repairs. New, wider streets, they fuel both growth and they're accessible to our first responders. It's been 13 years since Lubbock citizens have passed a street and infrastructure bond. I believe we can't put these investments off any further, any longer. So let's talk for a minute about why Lubbock is in such a strong position. I've mentioned a couple times, but our financial house is in order. Cash reserves are strong. We've paid down close to $300 million in debt net in the last 6 years. We built the discipline to pay cash for our needs versus swiping the credit card and issuing debt. You know, this position of strength allows us to be opportunistic. We're positioned for such an exciting time in our history. We must continue to pay down debt, provide for growth, and keep the property tax rate in check. I believe citizens should expect and demand this from future councils. However, we cannot afford to be duped into artificially low tax rates while things like street maintenance and desktop PCs are financed. That's simply bad business, and we've seen that movie before. We've made big investments to prepare our city for continued growth. Consider the investments we've made to our water system, to police and fire facilities, equipment, and people. Think about what we've done to ensure our transportation assets. Lubbock Preston Smith International Airport, Marcia Sharp Freeway, Loop 289, Interstate 27, and someday soon, Loop 88. They're all top-notch. Don't forget about the improvements we've made to stormwater. By the way, mostly all paid for now. We've also invested in our electric distribution infrastructure, an emergency operations center, and the downtown city complex. Our enhanced infrastructure positions us for great days ahead. However, we cannot afford to forget how important quality of life is to that equation. Our parks, the Canyon Lake system, libraries, downtown, youth sports facilities, and many others benefit our citizens and attract people from the region to come to Lubbock and spend their dollars. Earlier, I discussed how important good jobs are. You know, when a good job is created in Lubbock, history shows us that that job is filled by a Lubbock resident. And those Lubbock residents exhibit a strong work ethic, one that I believe is sort of fueled by our agrarian roots. I'm bullish on the Lubbock worker. Employers invest in our community because our people are proven, capable, and talented. Still, we must prepare more workers for high-demand jobs where there are many openings. Electricians, plumbers, HVAC technicians, nursing position openings are abundant. These are good jobs and they provide vital services. The city is likely to invest some of our ARPA funds in job training. Our hope is to be a good partner with these funds and in turn allow our citizens to achieve that better job. I think we've got to take care of our own. I'm passionate about that. Education is such a big part of this equation. K-12, trade schools, and higher ed all have to be at the table. We must strive every day to create more good jobs while always investing in a highly trained workforce. This supports the American dream. Done effectively, Lubbock is a big winner. Another second grader, Zoe, asked, "What is your job as mayor?" Zoe, the truth about that is it changes every day. Some days you drink coffee with citizens and talk about why we need pickleball courts. Other days you're in Denver at the world's largest mozzarella producer trying to explain to them why they need to come to Lubbock. And even other days you may be in Laredo working on our plans to extend Interstate 27. You know, the job's never dull. And I've learned, or it's been underscored to me, how important that teamwork and leadership really are. As a community, we succeed when we work together. Government, the private sector, and education. You know, this works in Lubbock. We're big enough to have the scale and influence to get things done, but we're small enough to be agile and move quickly. Lubbock's future depends on leadership that pulls in the same direction, coupled with a citizenry who remain proud of Lubbock and have a clear vision of our future. You know, when I leave office, the work doesn't stop. Those wheels keep turning. I'm convinced that our very best days are ahead of us. It's been my great honor to serve as your mayor. Thank you for joining us for this year's State of the City address. Thanks again to the Apartment Association for hosting this great event. And as always, it's a great day in Lubbock, Texas. Thank you very much.
thank you, Mayor, for your presentation. Thank you for your dedication to this city, your years of service. It's been a pleasure serving with you and council over these last years. And thank you all for being here. We're excited to see you next year. And with that, we are all dismissed.